Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Healthy Business Leader. I think this is about number 20, Dean, something like that. I've made a habit of saying the wrong number. I'm pretty sure it's around number 20. Today I'm joined by Dean Seddon, who's kindly jumped on the podcast with me today. Dean Seddon is the CEO of Maverrik. And as always, I'll let you introduce yourself so I don't do a poor job of it.
Awesome. Thanks, Cameron. It's great to be on. I help people leverage social media, particularly LinkedIn. So all our business does, help them build their brand, win clients, but not kind of do the classic live on the social media and, suck your soul out of yourself. So that's really what we do, mainly for salespeople and business owners.
I had a little read through your profile this morning. There's quite a few bits on there now, isn't there? The author, there's a couple of businesses you're running as well. Tell us a bit more about that.
I guess it's the time of my life that I'm now, I built Maverrik to a certain point, but I'm starting to look at that kind of leveraging other things. So I'm a co-founder of two other tech businesses. One is a CRM that we're building natively for social selling. That's going really well. We've also got some tools to help people engage and build relationships on that. That's Commenter AI. I just opened a coffee shop, and I'm going to be using that as a kind of a content experiment. The aim being, everybody says don't launch in food, restaurant, and coffee shops. It's the worst business to run.
Yeah.
And I'm about to kind of document that journey and see how good or bad that decision was. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, I've heard it's a competitive market, right? Because high streets nowadays, you've got, your classic Costas, your Neros, you've got Gals is now a big one. I've seen that growing left, right, and centre. So I suppose, from a coffee shop perspective, it's a competitive market. But I mean, if someone's going to make it a little bit different, I can imagine that's going to be your bag. Is there anything you've done with that coffee shop that's not your normal or?
Day one, Facebook ads, Instagram ads are naturally from social media.
You're blitzing it.
Photography, reels, everything. So all the social media went to bear straight away. I actually did a shift. Cameron, how graphic can we be?
Go for it, mate.
Right. So we'll talk about my health journey maybe a bit later, but obviously I've been trying to lose weight, and I got volunteered into the shift at the coffee shop on Saturday. And it's quite a small coffee shop. So I'm on the front counter taking orders and everything. And then I bend down to get some of our Freddy's coffee stickers and stuff. And the girl behind me is running the coffee machine, and it splutters. And just as it splutters, hot water comes out and goes down my crack.
How hot we talking?
Hot. Piping hot.
So what happened? Did you say a few words that you shouldn't have said in public?
I screamed a little bit, and she was in hysterics, and I thought she was going to have a heart attack because she found it so funny. And I've got some cream for it, but yeah.
Did you manage to recall that for content, or did someone miss it?
Oh, it would have been a classic. If You've Been Framed was still around, I would have got the 250 quid for that.
Jeremy Beadle jumps out from the cupboard, most definitely for that one. Oh, fantastic! So it's great you've. That's kind of like a new venture for you. But I'm really interested actually in your, that entrepreneur story is really what I find interesting with people. If not for any kind of other reason than selfishly for me, it's nice to hear other people that have been through that kind of up and down journey. I'm sure you're the same. So just give us a little bit of an insight into kind of the start and the up and downs with Maverrik and all the bits in between would be cool.
So I started as a just solopreneur and didn't really know what I was doing, to be honest. Struggled to make money with it for a long, long time. And fell into that trap of just getting work for getting work's sake. And so I was working more and more and more for basically crap money. And then I did and you'll get this, right? Sometimes opportunities come your way and they seem totally ridiculous. And most of the time you just ignore them and go, that's not possible. That's not me. And I got dumped with this project of, could you help us sell a load of tickets for an event at Wembley Stadium in 6 weeks. And I was like, I've never done that before, but it's money. So I said yes, and used Facebook to basically sell tickets for Wembley Stadium organically. And I made about 300,000 quid from doing it.
Wow.
And that was more money than I'd ever earned in my life. And I was thinking, it'll just pay the bills for a few months. So I made a lot of money from that. And then basically there's more money in the world than I realized. So I was like approaching life from a kind of very working class background and thinking money was in short supply. Yeah. And then I changed my thinking and started building my business. Then I got this weird project from a television company that kind of paid me a lot of money for 3 years. And then I built Maverrik. But Maverrik was built through a business split. I was with my best man. My best man started the business with me and decided he didn't like me anymore and went and started his own. And that was brutal because it wasn't just like it's your best mate and your business partner at the same time. And so I had the choice then. Do I go? I did a podcast myself about this recently. It was like, when that kind of split happens, I'd sold a house to invest to build the business. So I was like, I didn't have a lot of money, spare cash, because it was all sunk into it. He disappears. He was the front man, the salesman and everything. And I was like, oh, shit, basically, this business is going to shit.
How old were you, Dean? Sorry to jump in. How old were you?
I would have been early 30s.
Okay.
I had staff. I had everything. And the salesman disappears with all the relationships he had, all the pipeline gone.
Wow.
So I
had this store, right? He just started up with the contact book and started up himself, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I made the choice. I either get a job at Tesco or I make this work. And I kind of backed myself into a corner and went all out. And, we now have 30 people. We have an office in the US. Thousands of people on our training. 400 people go to our workshops in somewhere in the world every month. So it's like, it's a crazy journey, really. And sometimes I look back at it and go, did I actually do all this?
Where'd that come from? Were there, apart from that initial moment where it was, oh shit, my business partner's buggered off with all my contacts, what was the kind of the biggest moments during that where you thought, you know what, this is too difficult, this is too hard, I can't keep going? Or was it more all plain sailing from there?
No, it was horrific because obviously when you're the salesman, you've got really tight relationships with clients. In the days of that happening, clients started to fall off and move to him.
Right.
So we went from the business was doing okay to this is a bit rocky to actually we're losing clients to somebody who was on our team.
Right.
And we went to about 12.5 grand a month being underwater every month. So it was like, oh crap, we're tied into a lot of stuff. We got a building lease, we got all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There was, other than getting rid of people who I've worked with for years, which I didn't want to do. It was like, we've got to go upwards.
What did you do in that moment? What was the thing that moved the needle?
Actually, the first thing I did didn't work. So we decided to launch, and this is kind of why I rant about something on LinkedIn a lot. Obviously, my background is more than just LinkedIn, but that's what everybody thinks of me as. Email, LinkedIn, I do a bit of ads, blogging, everything. So I'm a good kind of all-rounder, really. So we tried to do training courses for people on how to get kind of decent overview of everything to do with marketing.
Yep.
And we tried to launch kind of a generalized marketing agency, and we just really couldn't cut through. But I was posting on LinkedIn and more people started to say, can you do LinkedIn? Can you do LinkedIn? Oh, we want to do LinkedIn. And this is when, LinkedIn was not how it is today. And so I resisted pursuing the bit that was working because I didn't want to do it. So eventually money forced me to drop the other stuff because all the money was in one place. All the work was coming from one place. Everything was around LinkedIn. And it was like, ditch everything else and just go all in on LinkedIn.
What did you like about LinkedIn? What was holding you back then? What was a specific reason?
I didn't want to be the LinkedIn person. I didn't want to be known, like, it felt like I can help people with this, and I can help people with this, and I can help people with this, but LinkedIn seems so like over there and not very, it felt like I was forcing 3D Dean into a one-dimensional Dean.
So the creative in you was feeling those putting themselves in a bit of a
Yeah,
pigeonhole. That'd be fair.
putting myself in a box that I didn't want to be in.
Yeah. What happened when you did? When you niched down into LinkedIn?
It blew up. It went insane. Absolutely
Right.
insane. So I'll give you, from going 12,500 underwater, we were clearing 40K a month.
Beautiful.
Just went poof.
Right.
And I was like, this is insane.
Do you think there was like a timing part of that where LinkedIn was starting to grow at the time matched up quite nicely as well? Or
Yeah, I mean, it really, really took off for us around 2018. And that was, I would say, compared to now, people were still on the fence about LinkedIn back then. It was growing, but the pandemic basically solidified LinkedIn's position as you've got to be on it.
yeah, yeah. So with regard to kind of the ups and downs of business and those kind of those moments we thought, shit, this is hard. The great thing to hear is that you didn't want to work in Tesco's. You wanted to keep going. Which, if you speak to 100 entrepreneurs, that's generally what you hear. It's like the idea of working with someone. No thanks.
Don't get me wrong. There are times where I've thought about, wouldn't it be great to go and put stuff on shelves and go home?
Same. Yeah. Same. Why am I on the computer at 6 a.m. when I could just go and get a job? I get it. I get it entirely. But I think that's part of what makes an entrepreneur. It's the idea that what if the thing for me is having the regret of not giving it my all. The idea of being 60, 70, 80 years of age and going, if I'd have just kept going, what if, So even those ups and downs, that's the thing that kind of gets me through. But for you specifically, what was your experience like from a mental health point of view, a physical point of view, when you're putting those hours in and your stress is really high? What was the experience like for you?
Well, when we were underwater, there's no easy way of saying it. We just stretched our cash flow and just literally tried to stretch it long enough to get things to take off. And we were very hand to mouth. So the end of the month was terrifying. Those like the last week before payroll was just scary because it was like, if somebody doesn't pay us. So that was terrifying. And the pressure of feeling responsible for somebody else, some other people, was terrifying, particularly when we were underwater, because it was like, I have to get everything that we're owed in, otherwise I'm screwed. So there was that kind of gnawing away at me all the time. And then I think the other thing was the kind of general nervousness of what happens if this all implodes. Mm-hmm. And there was like maybe a year and a half of feeling like that. Like, what if this all implodes, and the thought process, I know that I'm being really real here, Cameron. Like if this fell over at that point when we were vulnerable and I didn't pay people, how does that work? How do I rebuild from that? The potential reputational damage of that. Yep. It's a small area I live in. So all of that was kind of going around in my head at the same time as going, this thing's got to go up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was brutal.
So is that when you started to pick up and LinkedIn started to grow and your cash flow started to grow? So did you get to the point where, okay, you stop worrying about the implosion of things, but then there's new stresses, right? Every stage of business, there's new worries, new concerns, right?
Yeah. So the biggest one for me it was quite scary, was obviously when the pandemic hit, there was the whole disruption of what was happening. And a lot of our business is in person. So, literally 400 people in February 400-ish people will sit in a room somewhere in a city and be trained by somebody from Maverrik on how to use LinkedIn. So that's going on, pandemic, all of that ends. So it's like, what do we do now? So we go online, and of course the pandemic helped us in one sense because everybody's going online. You can't reach people in the office, all that. And then suddenly we went from up to about 70 people working for Maverrik. It was insane. Like the payroll was like 1.5 million a year. It was insane. And of course that lasted for a while. And then we had to go, right now, what's the new, people just throwing money at us, which was great. Once people realized this was going to roll for a while. And then that was all the management of how do you get all these teams to work together. And we had issues where, almost it took longer to get things done despite having more people.
Yeah.
And then we had scenarios where there was some people who didn't have any work, but were just on payroll, and they just kept quiet. And that was poor. To be fair, that wasn't them. That was poor management.
Yeah.
That was poor. That was us. Yeah, but we just added people to fit the demand. But then when the pandemic started to end, I was exhausted from the stress of dealing with 70 odd people and, the HR stuff, and our management infrastructure wasn't there, to be honest. It wasn't there for it. So, it was just a little bit out of control, but the money was flowing. So then our COO basically said, we now need to slim the business down and slim it down to the new model that we're doing post-pandemic. And that was scary because then we went and go, this team's now going to be 30 odd people. And we half the size of the team just because, changing the way the business works, but also half the people were unnecessary once we started to automate. And then AI came and it was like,
they got 5 people.
Yeah, I mean, AI has been massive in kind of shifting the way business functions. We had a team of 12 writers. That's now 6.
As in content writers, copywriters. Yeah. So you get the bulk of it can be done by AI, and then you tweak it.
So the content writers are really the drafters, the editors, and AI is doing the middle bit.
Yes. Yeah. So it sounds like you kind of had an offline business pretty much, and then you had to go fully online. Would you call yourself more of a hybridized company now? Yeah. So what's your favorite?
Offline. There's nothing better than being in a room. I know you like this. I know we're online and I'm helping people online, but I find there's nothing better than being in a room with people and answering questions and interacting with them. Yeah, you can do it online, and I do, but that's my preference, to actually meet people in real life.
Yeah. It's been a crazy journey. I mean, I've spoken about our journey quite a few times, but we were very much offline. We were in private members clubs. Then COVID hit, was forced to go online, but we had no infrastructure, no knowledge, anything. We didn't have any, our programs for clients were in a book on the wall, right? So we had to get all of that and build it online. So it's been a crazy journey for us, but the same as you, we're now talking to and looking at moving back into, that type of space, because many of our clients, even the people that are running the companies, they are now back in the office. So for us, the hybridized model makes a whole lot of sense. And the great thing is, if you was to zoom out and say, right, well, that was a shit show, that COVID thing, but look at what you've got now. You've got the offline offering with all this infrastructure here. For me, that feels like a much more kind of, bulletproof model, but also gives you so much more bandwidth, because you could pick a client up in New York that you can help online. You could pick a client up in London and see him face to face. So I feel like it's a really good blend. Has that been your experience as well?
Yeah. And for us, that mix of the two has really helped. But it did take finding your feet a little bit.
Yeah.
With both models working together. That was quite tricky.
How long's Maverrik been around now? How many years?
2014. So what? We're 11 years.
Yeah. They often say 10's the year where it all starts to become a little more
Yeah.
solid. And would you say that's fairly accurate with your
Yeah.
team?
I mean, this is the year we've had an incredible start to the year. It's been, last year was our best year ever. This year we've had a really good start. It feels like we, like everything just runs. It just feels like everything just runs now. So we're not complacent. The world changes on a dime these days, but it does feel that way. And I've got out and traveled more and done more stuff that I'm enjoying in the business. So, yeah, I would agree that that kind of 10-year mark, you kind of really know you're in your stride then.
Yeah.
And that's where the whole coffee shop,
Yeah. The fun
commentary
stuff.
AI, goggle have started to kick in because I've
Yeah.
got more flexibility to think about what can we bolt into what I'm already doing.
That's cool. I mean, what a great place to be. But I mean, for you as an individual, I don't know what you're like as a character, as an owner. Are you someone that kind of your next thing, or are you quite good at sitting back, reflecting, and say, "Wow, how well have I done to get to this point?" What are you like as a character?
No, next thing.
Yeah, most of us are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I think one of the things I think that a lot of people don't get about running a business, and I didn't get for a long time, is you're just trading up your problems.
Yes.
That's basically what you do. You trade up problems. And, some of my family are all working class. They come and see me and they go, "You're rich, you." And I'm like, "Not really. It's just like, you just have different, people always see, oh, you're a business owner, you employ people, you must have lots and lots of money and it must be great for you." Well, actually, I've got responsibilities to those people.
Mm-hmm.
I've got responsibilities left, right, and center. But you do kind of trade up I think all business owners are just problem solvers, basically, and they want to solve bigger problems.
It's crazy because when you speak to people not in business, they just look at, okay, well, that money goes in and that's what you get. Well, we all know it's the pennies that get spat out the other
Yeah.
end that you actually get. But
Don't get me started on the national insurance rise coming.
should we spend 5 minutes talking about Double R, Mrs. Rachel Reeves, and
Rachel from accounts.
that's a good program. I love that program. But yeah, let's spend 5 minutes on that because I know it's I speak to a lot of our clients. 90% of our clients run companies, and the impact that's having on them. It's okay, right. So this national insurance rise is coming. I've got two options. I either get rid of people, I put my prices up, and pass it on to the customer. That's the options I have. What's been your experience? What are your thoughts on the whole situation?
Well, I mean, let's just come out with it. I mean, they obviously do, I don't even know what they think. They even know what they're doing, really, to be honest with you. I was the kind of, I voted Conservative, and I was like, I'm not voting for them to let them back in again because they've been a disaster. I actually think that so far Labour's been worse in terms of, the only way you get economic growth in a country is by actually businesses doing better.
Mm-hmm.
And they're hammering businesses. They're basically saying, "Oh, we won't tax working people." Well, you're putting at least a £700 tax on every job in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know GDP figures have come out today and they've escaped recession by 0.1% today.
Mm.
But it's like, that figure is going to be revised. The hit has not come yet. It's just madness. If you want to grow, if you want to solve the country's problems, you need more money circulating. You don't need to just take more and more. And, I love public services. They're helpful. The NHS, my daughter works in the NHS. And I'm going to say something and provoke people. The NHS is a money pit. It is a bottomless money pit. I don't know how you sort it out. I don't have any idea how to sort it out, but I can tell you this: money alone is not the solution to fixing the NHS. And that's what they've took the money from businesses for, to put into the NHS. And it will go in, and within 12 months, it will need way more again.
Yeah. I mean, it's specifically with national insurance. I know owners that were very close to bringing 2-3 extra staff in because their companies were growing, and sat back and said, right, well, maybe I only need one. and maybe I can use some automation. Maybe I can get that person to do more. Maybe John can do some more. So if you look at the small businesses, which we very much are within that bracket, us specifically, it doesn't kind of make you more excited about growing a team, makes you a bit less excited. I've got close friends of mine that are running companies, and they've all buggered off to Dubai because it's sunny and it's warm, and they like people earning money. It kind of feels like the business owner gets, for me, like running a business is bloody hard, right? It's really hard, and not a lot of people want to do it, but making it a little smoother and helping people along the way to want to grow just feels like a good thing to do. But this is not what it feels like at the moment.
No, and I've had the emails from agents from Dubai basically saying $5,000, you can have residency here, you can set up your business here, there's hardly any tax. And they're literally actively targeting businesses in the UK, digital businesses, and saying, come here because you're going to save all this money.
It's mad, absolute madness. But let's move away from the politics before we get ourselves in too much more trouble. Let's talk about you specifically, because you mentioned before the call, I know you've spoken about it on your LinkedIn about your weight loss journey and stuff like that. So, again, I'm in health and well-being, wellness space or health and fitness space, whatever you really want to call it. I understand, how hard it is to keep yourself in shape, even for someone that's in the health and fitness space, because I've had, moments during COVID where I was drinking wine to get myself through the mental torture of what just gone on, overeating, not wanting to work out. I get it, but I'm in the health and fitness space. So I've got more of a draw to keep myself training and keep myself moving because of what I do. But I know for people that are not in that space, the same stress and the same kind of challenges, it can be harder to get yourself in shape and keep yourself in shape. So if it's cool with you, Dane, it's a really interesting story. Can you tell us a bit about your journey?
So where do I start? Weirdly, in my late teens, I was put on medication to gain weight, right? Can you believe that, right? I find it worked successfully, incredibly well. Whoever prescribed it, they've exceeded expectations on that. So I didn't eat a lot as a kid and was underweight. And then as business got on, I was traveling and doing a lot of stuff. So I wasn't really at home much to actually eat. That's the first thing. So that's my legitimate excuse. The other excuse was times of pinch points of stress, I would eat, and I would eat badly as a kind of coping mechanism for stress. And I actually, the whole business partner thing, I got down to my lightest around that, just before that happened. I started getting fit, going to the gym, all that kind of stuff. And then that whole implosion of best friend betrayal, losing the business partner, I literally gained 6 stone.
Wow.
Yeah, just back up, eating to kind of cope with stress. And I've always struggled with kind of maintaining a gym routine or stuff like that, because I'll travel again and I'll come back and I'll be exhausted. And I was like, something has to give. And I tried the weight loss medication, the pills you take. The problem with them is, I don't know how graphic it can be.
Go for it, mate.
It is you have to watch what you eat, because it comes out if you don't.
Okay, fast,
yeah. So you can have accidents, shall we say. So I tried that, but then you were going, I can't take that because I've got to go here and I've got to do that. So that became a problem. And then we were talking about this, and I confessed to you, Cameron, and said I cheated. I went on the injections, Mounjaro, from about October, just because I thought I needed something to break it in my head. It's not like it's the head thing really, because I can go to the gym and then get stressed, and I'll be in the KFC drive-through, so it kind of undermines itself. So I got the injections, and I was like, I'm cheating, but at this point, everything else has not really worked for me. So I'm going to do it. And I've done it, and I'm just approaching £60 loss. And the main thing that has been helpful for me, it's not been, I think generally speaking, I'm not sat at my desk all day. I'll spend the whole day on my feet at least once a week and be walking around and doing all sorts of stuff. It's the brain, it's my head and the eating. And it's killed that because I feel full all the time.
Mm-hmm.
God knows what happens when I come off it, but
But is it those moments? And like I just said to you, my choice would be a glass of red wine. It wouldn't necessarily be food. Everyone's got their thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's a glass of red wine or 2 glasses of red wine to offset that stress. I've become a lot better at not using it as a stress tool. I think during COVID for me was a real wake up call, because I thought, that the way that went down so quickly from the Wednesday when I had a knock at the door to closing in the afternoon was a bit abrupt, similar to what happened to you, right? But it's just using it as a tool for stress relief is not great. And I know you feel the same about food. So for you with the food thing, was it generally when you felt tired, overwhelmed, stressed that you used that as a tool? Was it just
anxious? It was a distraction. It was comfort eating as well.
Yeah.
And it was, now I obviously don't know what's actually going on because I feel full all the time. So I don't know how I'd react if I wasn't on it. And that's kind of something I got to face at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just hopeful that kind of I get to a point where I go, wow, look, I'm a lot slimmer. I look better in photos, all that kind of stuff. And I want to hold on to that. But also I've put some time between that habit of jumping to snacks and stuff like that as a kind of de-stressor.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're talking to some private clinics at the moment because there's a couple of companies within our space, one of which we look up to. They're pretty much the leader in everything that we do, but starting to partner up with private clinics to say, right, people are going to go on this drug. It's not going to go anywhere. How do you implement a new habit system? How do you implement a training system? So what you're talking about, it's about building those good habits outside of the Manjaro. So when you stop taking it, they remain, right, which is definitely the hardest part. I mean, I've done quite a lot of commentary on Ozempic, the pros and cons of it, but I think, for someone like yourself, it makes total sense. It's really helping you from a health perspective. It's brilliant. I think like we spoke about, it's about how do you continue life without it. I mean,
that's the big cliff really for me. And by the time I've finished, I'll probably have been on it for a year. And I think they take it off you once your BMI reaches kind of a certain point, or you can't get it anymore. So that's the bit that kind of is kind of not worrying me, but I'm concerned about is what will it have I put enough time mentally between what my old habits and new habits that won't matter? That's the first one. And then, is my appetite going to come roaring back as soon as I come off it?
Yeah. Well, I have heard that Manjaro lasts a little longer than the other ones. There's some benefit longer term. But you know what? We don't know much. That's the problem. It's so new. It's only been used, it was for diabetes originally, as you know. It's now been used as weight loss benefits. But just putting the Ozempic aside and looking specifically at your weight loss, how do you feel 60 pound lighter? What impact has it had on your focus, productivity, stuff like that?
I feel more productive, I think. I guess the big thing for me is I'm starting to notice the difference, and that feels good. It's only marginal. Other people have said they've noticed it more. I keep digging out old photos to kind of compare them, to kind of just keep me focused, because I've gone through like three sets of clothes now. So it's kind of like I can see that bit, but when I take pictures, I can't see it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that bit's keeping me focused on that bit, keeping me motivated. But I guess I do feel more productive. I do feel a bit happier. But I've still got a way to go. So I'm like, let's do this. Let's do this.
Yeah. Have you? So you've noticed a difference in energy as well. Would that be fair?
Energy levels massively.
Mm.
And it's weird because I'm eating less. So some days the downside is some days I can barely eat 700 calories. So it's weird because some days I'm tired because I'm not eating.
Yeah,
And then other days I got loads of energy because I'm not lugging around another human being with me.
yeah, yeah. It's worse of both sides. I mean, it
Yeah.
all comes down to what you're eating, right?
Yeah.
If you're eating sugary stuff, if you're in the cafe and it's 700 calories of
I'm
sugary
not allowed
stuff.
to eat anything in the cafe.
Good. Oh yeah, because the profit margins. That's good. That's good. I like it. That's positive. Okay, that's cool. I mean, the things you've spoken about are benefits that we hear from our clients when they lose that amount of weight. I think the other part is making sure the training's happening, so you're getting strong, because we know the benefits of exercise really do help as
Yeah.
well.
So the what I have done is because obviously we're hybrid now, and getting to the gym, my gym, I told you about this, but I've gone one step further since we last spoke. So what I've done now is I've got a gym membership closer to my home, so I can just literally 2 minutes in the car.
Yeah,
But I actually got a treadmill. So every day I get at least 15 minutes on the treadmill
brilliant.
because it's just there.
Yeah.
Um, so I've started to do that. So it's kind of helping a little bit because I'm conscious that if I don't do any exercise and just lose weight, that could have consequences as well.
Okay, good for you, dear. I'm really pleased, you mate. It's good to see. We're doing what we do. It's great to see people taking some action. I know it might not necessarily be the perfect way you'd like to have done it, but it's working. So hats off
Yeah,
to
well,
you.
the perfect way would be for me would be go to the gym, do all the proper, meal prep and all that kind of stuff. But every time I've tried it, I've failed.
Time.
Um, and I don't know whether that's, but I'm a bit of a sod as well. Like if I hired a personal trainer at the gym and they said, right, we're going to do this, and I didn't want to do it, I say, don't you tell me what to do.
That's the entrepreneur in you coming to the surface.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. The only person that can tell you what to do is HMRC, right? That's the only person. And your wife.
I'll give you a funny story. My wife is she used to work for the NHS to help people lose weight, right? Help people lose weight before operations, right? She could not get me to fix. Yeah. I said, you do realize if I was your client, I would ruin your business.
I'm not the ICP. I'm not your ICP.
Yeah. Stubborn, unwilling.
It's good to see it's working, man. I think, from my side, it's just good to see someone losing weight and feeling the benefits of it for sure. So yeah, I mean, get yourself in the gym, get some weights going, and you'll be halfway there as well. Just quickly before we wrap up, because I know we've been going for 40 minutes ish. I've really enjoyed our chat actually. I think, what would be cool is if you could give us, because you're obviously in the LinkedIn social media world a lot more than your average person. So there'll be people watching this that are running a business, whether it's 5 people, 200 people, 500 people. What would be your kind of little tips and things that you can see coming within the social media marketing and AI space? What do you think the next kind of 5 years are going to look like?
Oh, that's a big question. So I guess let's think about AI. My position on AI has still not changed. It's going to make human beings, some very talented human beings, better. And unfortunately, it's also going to expose people who are mediocre, and they will fall out of the market. So there is going to be that reckoning. I don't know how long, how big, or anything like that. But the people who are good at what they do have nothing to fear from AI. It's actually going to make them better. So AI on that front I think is brilliant. There's, you can see it yourself, Cameron, on LinkedIn. There's people using AI really well, and there's people using AI and it's showing them up. So you can see that. In terms of LinkedIn and business, LinkedIn is still growing, but it's a very different beast than it was a couple of years ago. So, posting content is good for trust building. It's good for building awareness, but you want to be focused. The days of, just going viral for viral sake and people flooding your inbox, they're not the same days we're in now. So you have to focus on methods, process, systems. Treat it like a business channel, like you would any other business activity. You got a plan, you got to work it every day. You can't just rely on it all coming together magically, and just build relationships. And I would say one more thing: if you've got a team, and this is something I'm encouraging people to do. So in the Employment Rights Bill, there's obviously things about what you can and can't get your employees to do. And currently, if it's not in your job description about using LinkedIn for the business, you cannot force your employees to do it. However, if you build into every job role that you do that you want your team to be ambassadors for the company on LinkedIn, you can mandate certain activity.
Okay.
And I'll tell you now, having employees, I'm not saying you force employees, but having employees where part of their role is to share content, it's good for them, it's good for their career. They may not see it, but it's good for their career. But also it's good for building your brand and building your business, to let them find out how they can build their brand on LinkedIn.
Brilliant. That's a real good tip there, Dean. I like that one. I like that one a lot. Well, thanks for spending a bit of time with me. I've really enjoyed our conversation. It's been good to hear a bit about your journey, and appreciate you being open and honest, because you could have come on and gave us the half story, but it's cool to hear about bum cracks getting burnt and people heads explode, stuff like that. It's a lot more.
You can edit that out if you want. If it was too much information, you can edit it out.
100%. We're actually going to make sure that's blown up, that section of the video. Make sure people catch it. But no, I really appreciate it. Yeah. Brilliant. All right. Thanks, Dean. Appreciate your time.
Cool. Cheers, Cameron.
Fantastic.